Happy Friday, folks. We went up north for local Fridays to start out these next few weeks. We're going to come back down south. I know last week it's in South Carolina. My brain had a little gaps. They're actually all North Carolina beers. This one's from Full Steam up in Durham. Todo Vapor. It's a pretty light, easy sipper. It's a Mexican style lager. It's a style that I've come to be very, very appreciative of late. Really like these, so let's see how Full Steam does it together. Experience it all at once right after the theme song. Hey folks, welcome on into the Midland Studio as per usual with your host Nutmeg 2 Palmetto. I do have to eat a little crow as I hinted at before. My last trek down local Fridays was Connecticut, South Carolina, as the name Nutmeg 2 Palmetto suggests. And then I completely skipped my train of thought because all the beers I had lined up for this series, they're actually all the South Carolina beers that I kind of brain farted on. They're all actually North Carolina beers, so it's not going to be Connecticut, South Carolina this time around. It'll be Connecticut to North Carolina. This one is from Full Steam. Full Steam's out of Durham, which is up in that greater Raleigh area. People typically, if you're into sports, you think of Durham, you think of Duke. So there's your association for you. Now this is called Todo Vapor. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And maybe the only reason why I'm putting a little bit of accent on it is the fact that it's a Mexican lager. So maybe I'm just putting a little bit of a horrible Spanish accent on it, and probably shouldn't be doing that at all. Who knows? But in any event, oh, that's interesting. I didn't even notice that. So on one side, right under the name, it says beer from the beautiful South. And on the other side, it actually lists that in Spanish. Cerveza del Hermoso Sur. And on the English side, lists the style as Mexican style lager. And on the Spanish side, lists that as Cerveza Mexicana. So that's actually pretty cool. So maybe I'm not so off base with pronouncing Todo Vapor with a little bit of a horrible accent. This is a very light, very moderate and sessionable 4.8 alcohol by volume. It's got a big bull on the logo of the can, so maybe Full Steam's logo, maybe that's just related to the beer itself, because the running of the bulls is in Spain, or maybe that's Full Steam's general logo. It could be one of the either. If you know, drop in the comments, please. If lagers, Mexican lagers are your thing, and you want to see other lagers I've reviewed in the past, work your way on down to the comments. The first one pinned has a link to a playlist. Click on that, you'll see all the lagers I've reviewed in the past. So you got some time, venture on through that, and take a little bit of a journey with things I've done in the past that are similar style to what you're watching me review right now. Now on Untapped, this is actually interesting, a little bit unexpected. This has it classified as a Vienna lager, which is completely in a different ballpark than a Mexican lager. A Vienna lager is an amber, darker color, more malty. A Mexican lager, clear, see-through, almost transparent, crisp. It's got a little bit of extra flavor to it, of course, but definitely, it just from a color perspective, night and freaking day. So I'm a little bit surprised to see it classified as a Vienna lager on Untappd. Now, I do know that sometimes when these places list their beers on Untappd, they just have to throw it in a bucket somewhere. But a Vienna lager and a Mexican lager are not remotely the same bucket, so I'm a little surprised by that. It confirms the ABV at 4.8. It lists the IBU as a very low and manageable 21. And rankings-wise, a decent number, not a huge number, but a decent number. 1,563 total, 1,429 unique. Out of that, 1,291 were ranked. Pretty solid, pretty respectable, 3.64. So people typically use the rule of thumb as anything 3.5 and up is going to be a generally good beer tested by the public. I tend to subscribe to that a little bit. So 3.64 is certainly above that, so it should be something pretty decent. Direct translation, full steam. Actually makes sense. Vapor, steam. That you would think that actually would be a derivative of another language. So Todo vapor is the translation into Spanish, I would imagine, of full steam. A delicious, classic, crushable Mexican lager that begs to be popped open at a picnic or a Carolina beach. Bready and nutty with light hop-derived notes of lime, but we won't complain if you add an extra slice of citrus. We might just do the same. Okay, so that's really interesting. Now, it starts off with description of a lot of different things that you would think from a Mexican lager. Crushable, classic. Typically people think classic, they think crisp, they think refreshing, that sort of thing. But it closes it with bready, nutty. Those things you would associate more towards this bucket they put in of Vienna lager. So this might be maybe a little bit of a hybrid sort of beer, I'm even more intrigued to try this. But it closes with notes of lime. Obviously that is something specifically associated with a Mexican lager. So let's not waste any more time. I'm really excited. I do like Mexican lagers. Let's crack this open and try it together. Don't blame me, the sun's in my eyes. Well, that pretty much answers that question. A nice little tap in there, tap, tap, tap. Yeah. Remember I was confused? I'm looking at the can, it says Mexican style lager, and I'm looking at the Untappd, it says Vienna lager. I'm thinking those two things don't necessarily go together. They're very, very different. And sure enough, here I have poured into the glass, and it's definitely looking more Vienna lager than Mexican lager. That is a pretty amber, rusty, almost dark orange type of color. Damn near red, actually. I mean, it's pretty translucent. You can, at worst, see super dark shadow on my hand. At best, you can kind of make out the edges of my fingers. So, just has even more confusion, right? Let's take a sniff. Oh. Now that's really interesting. So, I kind of get hints of both. Believe it or not. Believe it or not, I kind of get hints of both. That is, it's got this toasty quality that you would expect from a Vienna or amber. But there's also a bit of a effervescent citrusy juice to it, like lime, that you would expect from a Mexican lager. Well, let's quit the sniffing and get the sipping, as Wayne's Beer Delivery says. Let's see if the taste is a tiebreaker in any way. Not waste any more time and get right to it. Okay, I think we broke that tie. Ah. I definitely have my winner of that contest of sorts. Let's get one more sip to make sure. That has a lot more. That has a lot more of that roasty malt, both up front and on the finish. There's not a lot of, I mean, if there's any like aftertaste hanging around in your tongue, it definitely gets a little bit more citrusy. But it almost becomes an afterthought because it's so amber here and amber there. It's really interesting because now I'm starting to wonder if what we tend to think traditionally, so in traditional terms, what a Mexican lager is, maybe what we're thinking it is just an Americanized version of it. And maybe they're like a true authentic Mexican lager is something more similar to what we think in American craft as a Vienna. So maybe that's what's going on. I mean, it looks Vienna. It smells Vienna. It smells half and half, but yes, smells Vienna. And then it tastes very Vienna. So that really makes me wonder if they, well, it also could have been a situation where they already had the labels made. Like, well, slapping that on the can. Who knows? But yeah, that is all Vienna lager in the flavor. Like I said, a little bit of cut, like as an aftertaste of citrusy, but that's pretty much amber through and through and through. I'm not upset. I do like ambers, but I also bought it expecting what I thought was a Mexican lager. Unless that's just an Americanized term that is taken over our thoughts and mental interpretations of what a Mexican lager should look and taste like. Unless something like that happened, I didn't necessarily get what I was expecting. But that's okay because it's still pretty tasty. Like I said, maybe it's just a matter of we're accustomed to something being something else, and authentically speaking, it's really not. In any event, that's pretty tasty. I'm going to enjoy that. I will have no problem enjoying that or finishing that. That is pretty darn good. Well, I guess my link in the playlist will just be lagers. Because now I don't want to put a link that says Mexican lagers and have it look like that. So, if lagers are your thing, work your way on down to the comments. The first one pinned is a link to a playlist of all the other lagers I've reviewed on the channel in the past. And if you liked what you saw from me, smash that like button, subscribe to my channel, hit that notification bell so that exactly when my reviews drop. If you want to recommend a beer to me, send me a beer, or just chit-chat me up, email me, nutmeg2palmetto@gmail.com. If you want the rest of my day-to-day insanity, follow me on my social media channels, TikTok and Instagram, @nutmeg2palmetto. Challenge the definition of things. Maybe we were wrong all along. Cheers, folks. I'll see you next time.